Good evening, everyone. This is our first open mic session for the Forsaken Council, and tonight we are joined by some members of the page and the community here. We're going to have a little bit of a discussion about bass parts first, and after that we're going to just open it up and let everyone have a little rant about what's bothering them in the game. So I'm Liam99. I'm your host, and I believe we're joined by. I can hear the back feed there. 1 second. Is it me? It is me. Oh my god, I broke my own rule. I could hear my YouTube there. Sorry, guys.
Wow.
I broke my own rule. Jesus. Right, okay.
Let it move, Benny.
I just warned you all. I warned everyone about muting their tubes when I left my YouTube loud, so sorry about that. Okay, yeah, so guys, bass parts. It's a new feature by Kixeye. We had a good discussion on it on Tuesday's show. I've got a poll up in the page where we're generating feedback so we can provide some information to Kixeye. And I really just want to know what you guys feel, what you guys are thinking about it. What's your opinions on it so far? What are you worried about? What are you liking about it? Just give us what you got. How do you feel? I'll start off with, on my screen at the very end, which is Alan.
I've not seen the post.
Not seen the post. Well, bass parts are going to be a new feature. So these new mines we've been hitting this weekend. Moving forward, they're going to give out bass parts. So 1,000 bass parts is equivalent to 1,000 seconds, and you can use those bass parts to upgrade a turret in your base, which will reduce it by 1,000 seconds. But if you're unaware of the post, you may not. What do you feel by the sounds of that?
We want any help's better than none, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Definitely, anything that can help you speed up items in your base. Okay, Brian, how do you feel?
I like the idea of bass parts. It is a great help. I'm kind of a little concerned there are other solutions that they could have taken to this, although looking at everything, I see why they're doing everything the way they're doing. I just feel maybe a little better solution could have been reached. It feels a little complicated, and they might be a little difficult to obtain, and we still don't know all the information, like how much you get in build time versus the repair time on taking down the targets, etc. I am cautiously optimistic.
Optimistic, yeah. I mean, I think that's the general vibe I'm getting through the community is that players are saying they like the idea, but until they see it rolled out, they're kind of remaining on the fence, which tends to be the general opinion. How do you feel, David? What's your perspective on these? David. Gadget.
Oh, you talking to me? Sorry, mate.
Listen, you better start answering to David, okay?
That's not my name.
It says David right there on the screen, okay?
Yeah. No, it says you.
Right. David hates being called David, so I would appreciate if everyone starts calling him David.
Bollocks.
Hello, David.
I like the idea. I think this is one of these ideas that has the potential to be really, really awesome, but it also has the potential to really, really upset everyone at the same time, depending on where they go with it. I mean, for me, it depends very much on the limit they're going to allow me to store and on the amount that I'm going to be able to get per coin, let's say, or per hour of repair. I mean, if it's going to be ridiculously hard to get it and it's going to cost me a ton of repair to get a very small amount, then it's not really going to be worth it to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I agree with that.
I think the level of points they give out is going to be the crunch for these. If it's too small and people are taking too much damage, and I don't think anyone's ever really going to be really interested in them. I mean, but on that subject, what do you feel is a sufficient payout for them?
I don't really have an opinion on a number, really. I mean, I haven't put that much thought into it, but I mean,
so I actually did think about that earlier.
I couldn't say, because I mean, what I think is a good payout is always going to be biased in my favor, right? And somewhere in between what I think is a good payout and what they think is a good payout is probably reasonable.
Well, see, I think 20k for a 90. And I think that's the kind of figure we should expect, because You're talking 800,000 is 10 days, and you can do them for free with Centurions. So I think that that's the kind of figure we're going to see on these. That's my speculation anyway.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to see numbers that high.
Yeah, 20,000.
Well, you think that's high? I think that's low.
I think that's 20,000 seconds, man.
20.
That's nearly 4 hours for one target.
Well, but for rhinos, that's 6 hours damage.
I know, but then I don't see them giving you 4 hours off your base build for one target, Liam. I really don't. I mean, come on.
But how are you going to generate enough to say build? How are you going to generate 10 days worth?
Over time, that's the whole point, isn't it?
Come on, if it's going to be that level of a grind.
If they make it so that you can get that many points off of one target, you're going to have guys like me that go out and hit 200 targets, level everything in their base up in a month, and then don't need to do this feature anymore.
Good point.
Yeah, I agree, but I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't see them being worth. If you're taking more time damage to hit them than you are that you're collecting, that you're saving, then they're never viable. So they have to be.
But you just said Centurions can do them for free.
But that's Centurions for me. I mean, I'm probably going to coin a fleet of Centurions, so that means I'm going to have that. I'm going to spend 4,000 coins to have the ability to do that. But that option's not going to be available to everyone else.
Okay, so what about all the people running around with my U-base fleet that can just do a little tiny refit and they can do them for free too?
But can they do them for free?
I bet you any money my U-base fleet can do them just as cheap as your Centurion fleet does.
What's the level of radioactive defense on them? Because you need to be about you need to be 65 to 70.
I said a small fleet, a small refit, right? But my refit is going to cost a lot less than your build.
And probably, Dave, you're talking about taking the agility system out and putting the coding back, and you're good to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but the problem is, if you do that, Gad, then
also you don't need the speed down either. You can run the D5. Is it D5R that gives you the radioactive defense? You can run that over the Streamline Cadium.
Yeah. Yeah, you could, but it's going to put your repair up, and it's going to reduce your combat speed and your turn speed.
Yeah.
If you do that. What I was going to say, Monster, is I'll lose my U-base puns, but I've been refitting my Neptunes for the last month to do the same job. So the puns will become my base parts fleet, and the Neptunes will become my U-base fleet.
Yeah, which is all good if you've got them built, mate. But if you haven't, I do think this new fleet will be your workhorse, mate.
Oh yeah, no. Well, for sure. If you haven't got them, then this fleet is going to be something that you should get.
I want to see them in action, Gadget. I want to see, because I don't believe that they can do it at the same value. Because
Ren used his puns in the test server, and he said that they did them for about the same value.
So if I can chip in, both of them, the Skull Centurions and Skull Punishers, both could do a level 90 in preview server. For less than 3 hours, easily less than 3 hours of repairs. Okay, and I mean, no skills, no nothing. Just point to the end of the target and let the fleet move.
But my Citadels did it for less than 3 hours. Did you catch my stream, Ren?
I was playing it at the same time.
So there you go, Liam. Now we've got 3 fleets that can do them for less.
But my Centurions did a level 90 for 49 minutes, and I reckon I could get that to a free repair.
Yeah, but even at 3 hours, mate, if people can go out with 3 different fleets that we know of so far and easily get 20,000 base parts from one target for 3 hours repair, how long do you think it's going to be before nobody hits this feature anymore because they've done everything they need to do?
Well, and just one point there, right? We say done everything they need to do. We got to keep in mind that Kitsai at the same time is speeding up the release rate of buildings, right? I mean, we've seen a new turret every month in Tier 4, and we saw a new turret in last raid, and now Ultimate Gates coming out. Mm-hmm. We're gonna have plenty to build, right?
And you've got to get your turrets up to 6 and then 7 and.
Another thing I was going to say is there a limit on how many base parts can be applied to a build? Like, if you've got like say a couple of million base parts. Can you just build something instantly using all base parts and no?
You can, but there will be just like uranium. Base parts will be stored in your warehouses. So depending on the level of your warehouses, there's a limit to how many base parts you can store. But you're going to apply this. The game will not give you a choice of how many base parts you apply. It's going to apply everything you have when you start the build.
Instantly. Yeah, so you won't be able to store.
So now, if you have more in stock than you need, it's an instant build. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's also going to put you in a position, right? Say, for example, you're building a turret, and you can knock 8 days off it and then leave 4 days on it. That's going to put you in a position where you're going to want to go out and fill up again before the next building finishes. So say you're giving yourself like 2 days every turret left after you've applied your base parts. You're going to be pushed. Say, for example, they make your max hold 6 days and turrets are generally 8 days. You're going to have a 2 day gap to go out and fill up again. So that's going to add in the grinding element as well, I think.
Yeah, Brian wanted to say something.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. It was getting back around to the point, actually. I feel that because they have all the new turrets in the DFM rotation, they have the new turret level coming out with OP8, they have all this extra build time that we need, and a lot of the time there tends to not be a lot of things for the high-end players to do, the kinds that can kill these 90s, 80s very well and for very cheap damage. I think that might actually be a point towards them making the ratio of base parts to damage lower. Personally, I would like to see it higher, but that's because I'm really behind on my turrets because they take so long. But I feel that these might not be as rewarding as we may like in order to keep some of the higher-end players engaged for a longer period of real time.
Mm-hmm.
Can I say something real quick?
Get 'em.
So going back to David's point about the in-game players with the latest toys and finding a few different configurations, what I think you might see is, and Kix has this history already, where once we start getting to a point where we're kind of laying waste to these targets, I think you see a trend going back where base building, base defense, and whatnot is going to have an incline in build times. So say they cap out at 6 days, so you can manage 6 days in your warehouse to be base parts, and Kix start seeing that a lot of the players are hitting that cap and taking advantage of this. I don't see any reason in the world why they would say, okay, this next awesome fallback turret, we're going to go ahead and get out of the build and so back to the days of 14, 15, and hell 22-day build turrets. Basically going back to where we came from, but having this time in between, any part where we have this review, and that's it wouldn't surprise me at all to go back to those days of long building build time because of this. Now, as a low end player, I'm a level 59. I very much love the base part concept. I get excited when I finish a harpoon build, for God's sakes. But
One thing about it, Liam, are they going to put enough targets up for everybody to go for, not like this weekend?
Well, I mean, if they're going to run off the concept of the mines, don't they respawn? Is it every hour the 4 mines respawn? I haven't. Is there any clarification on the spawn rate of these things?
Yeah, what I can say they're going to spawn on the same mechanic of the mines. So not every draconian base has mines around them all the time, but they randomly get mines around them throughout the day.
So there's going to be 4 mines spawning like randomly per hour around particular Drake bases.
Something like that. What I don't know is like, will they despawn like the mines do today? That I don't know.
Right, okay. And also, I mean, they could spawn at any level. So you could find players fighting over these things,
Well, and they're going to be level locked. So there will be level 30 DMBs. There will be level 40 DMBs. I think we saw them in the preview. Then levels, I don't know if there was 50, but then
I think there was 70,
90,
80, 90 as well, yeah.
But there were low levels as well, right?
Yeah, I tried some of the low ones. And
the good thing about the low level ones is like they don't have the Iron Curtain. So when you go against a level 30, level 40 DMB, there you can do with missiles, you can do with whatever rockets, whatever you have.
Mm-hmm. So we've had who has not yet had a chance to air their views on the draconian on base parts. Silent, have you had what's your opinion on them?
Well, so far, I like the idea. I like the idea of a siege target. Just because most of my builds have been based around PvE and not too much fleet versus fleet. Well, that's going to help me. But at the same time, I've done a lot of refits to my fleets with blades. And as we found out, blades just don't work with these things.
I didn't try blades actually. I tried Harriers, and I did get 90, 80 done with Harriers.
So, Liam, I use
my didn't work.
Sorry.
That's all right. Yeah, I have a legendary V2H Frosty fleet that I pretty much use for everything. I know it's not as good as Rhinos, but it's a decent fleet for me. And it didn't get a shot in edgewise. I had to park right next to the turrets just to land anything.
Well, the fleet I tried it was 3 Rhinos, Zoe's Rhinos, full of 15 Harriers each. So that was 45 Harriers, a Harlock Aegis, which obviously boosted missile reload. They were all legendary rank, and then there was a Punisher tank up front. And I know many people were saying that they weren't landing missiles due to the Draconian coaxial. So perhaps the fact that I had the Harlock Aegis in there, boosting their reload, along with 45 missiles, and along with them being legendary rank, perhaps that was why I was landing missiles. But for a level 80, I took 6 hours damage on Zoe's, which I thought was quite a lot, really. It was 12 coins.
Yeah. I was doing them with 3 hours, so my setup was Punisher tank, 3 Rhinos, but with blades. But I added an old Crusader with arbalests.
Right.
And because there's no punishment there if you get too close to the turrets, I mean, there's no rocket turret, nothing like that. You can actually get close, aim at the Iron Curtain first. So that means the Crusader kills it real fast. And after that, all of the missiles will land. And with that strategy, and by the way, that's what I mixed up. With that strategy, that fleet, 3 Rhinos, Punisher, and Crusader, was taking almost 3 hours of damage on a level 90. And that's what I mixed up when Gadget earlier asked me about the Punishers in preview. That was under an hour of damage, you're right.
Well, a couple of important things I noticed in them, which I'm sure everyone else noticed, is that all of their damage was radioactive and ballistic. There was no missile turrets, there was no mortar turrets in these mines. Whether that is subject to change and whether that does change, we'll see. I think if that does change, they'll become a lot harder. And also the fact that there was no cold snaps or frostbites in there, which would give people options to run, leads that do use fields like Harlock Aegis and whatever you decided to use. So, I
don't know about that, mate. A couple of guys in my alliance hit the higher level mines, and they took Aegises in there with deflection holes, and the deflection holes didn't get it up, but the Aegis took it, man. It got beat up real quick because it's got no deflection on it.
Yeah, the Aegis. I noticed that too. I mean, when I did my Rhino set, I did take a lot of damage, but I didn't control it very well. I had the tank too close because I was trying to keep it in the Aegis field. And
my Crusader took a lot of damage too, but still I could do 1 or 2 before it died.
The splash is huge on these ballistic cannons inside there. I mean, it's absolutely huge. I took a shot when my fleet first entered the battle, my citadels, and I took a shot on the lead ship, and it damaged the two ships next to it either side. So we must be talking, I don't know, 20, 30 splash on these cannons, which is a lot. That's a high splash for a ballistic weapon. Let's move along the line anyway. Will, how did you find the? What is your opinion on Drake base parts?
That was pretty interesting from what I read, and I did mostly the 30s and 40s. I used my 3 Crusaders, my Neptune with my 3 Rhinos. They're pretty good. I didn't even do the higher ones yet.
And the feature itself, I mean, the whole base parts feature, is that something that you can see being used for? Is that something you look forward to, or?
Probably be useful. I had a kind of question I had about it. When you build a turret with that base parts going into it, but when you collect more, could you use those base parts to reduce more time for that one turret?
Well, I think the way it's going to work is, say, for example, you have enough base parts to reduce the turret by 6 days, and the turret itself takes 5 days, then it will just use your base parts, and you will have a day's left of base parts.
What he's asking is if he can then go and get more base parts and add them to the time that's left on the turret.
Oh, you mean can you speed? That's an interesting. You mean if the turret's going and it says, you know, it has 6 days left, and then you go out and fill up your base parts again, can you then click speed up and use base parts to speed it up?
Exactly.
I don't think you can. I mean, from what I read, it was they only applied when you first started to build.
When you first start.
Yeah,
But that's a very interesting question, and in fact, I almost feel that they wouldn't allow you to do that, because you could basically say you can hold 100,000 and you use 100,000, and then you go out and fill up 100,000 and try using them again. I almost feel like that they wouldn't allow that, but that would be interesting to get that clarified.
But by the way, just a comment, and someone mentioned that earlier. Keep in mind that base parts will not work for upgrades. Right? Someone was talking about all the upgrades you have to do. Maybe it was Will, maybe it was Brian, I don't remember. But the base parts will only work when you need to, let's say, build a turret, a weapon on your turret, put armor on your turret, put a tactical module on a warehouse.
It only works for
parts. You cannot use base parts to take a turret from level 6 to 7 or 5 to 6 or upgrade a warehouse. They won't work for that.
It only works on equipping, basically.
No, that's
so I can equip like fire support 2 to my OP using base parts.
Yes.
Yes, you can equip a tactical module or armor there, and you can do that in parallel with another building upgrading. But and that's the key difference between base parts and tokens.
You can have 2 going at once instead of 1.
Yes, and tokens work for upgrades, base parts don't.
Okay, that makes sense.
Whoops.
Okay. Well then, let's also shuffle along the line. I believe that it's just Monster and Travis. Travis, how do you feel about base parts? Travis? I believe Travis may be having some sound issues. Monster?
I think it's a cracking idea, but again, it depends on how many you get and the damage you've got to take to get it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It will help with your bases, and it will help the smaller guys catch up, depending on if they can get a decent amount of them for not a lot of damage, like.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, can you hear me now?
Hi, Travis. Yes, we can hear you now. How's it going?
I'm doing good. Yeah, the one thing I was worried about, like, you know, with like the base parts, you know, it might end up being a chore. So I know that I would like personally to see like a higher level target, because I know with the new hull and the new weapon, you can pretty much just walk through them, which I know they are intended for that purpose. But how many are we actually going to have to get to make it viable to have, you know, to where they're actually usable and not being a chore that's going to combat Forsaken missions and uranium you know, pick up through our armadas. I really would just like to see, you know, a mastery target basically where limited time players can go out and just smash it, be done with it, and it be effective to when you go to install your tech and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to say, I mean, from our point of view, I wouldn't see it as a chore, because there's times in the game when I've got nothing to do at all. So it'd be something else for me to go out and play.
Mm.
And also, you don't have to do this. It's not
Exactly,
like if you don't get base parts today, your game is going to really suffer.
Yeah, I mean, you could continue playing the game as you currently are, of course, so, I mean, it's really just an additional feature for you to save time that you do not have to take part in if you don't want to, which I feel is quite good.
Yeah, and it's not going to put you at a massive disadvantage if you don't.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I, for one, you know, my view on the base parts is I think that it is a good feature. I think that, reading it on paper, it sounds good. But what's going to be crucial and very important is how they deliver it, and it's how it comes to us at the end when it's released. The crunch time for me, the absolute, you know, most important aspect of this is how many base parts these targets give out, and I think that's going to be the difficult thing for Kickstarter balance. everything else sounds rosy to me. Everything else sounds great. It's going to be about how many points we get for doing this compared to how much damage we get, and then if it's a viable option.
Yeah, and how much we can store as well is also a clincher for me.
Well, I suppose it'll be like you, mate. You can go out, you can store it, and then use it, and then just top up again, like.
Yeah, but what I mean is they're going to put a limit on it, right? And it's going to be limited so that, like, you know, if a turret is 8 days, you're not going to be able to get more than a certain amount of days off of that. They're not going to let you just you know, do you know what I mean? They're not going to let you just have such an amount of base parts that you can just do everything instantly and not spend any time or money on it. Do you know what I mean?
Which is a good thing. Which is how it should be.
Yeah, of course, but if they set that too low, it's not going to get the interest that they want it to.
If I can chip in, one thing that when we were discussing that with KidsEye, I think they are trying to address a very good problem here, which is, you know, like this month, the fleet of the month problem, when like this month everyone now has new Rhino fleets and now everyone's hitting your base with missiles, and then next month everyone has a Draconian carrier fleet and everyone's hitting you with UAV that are explosive. And they said that the people were getting frustrated because even people with the tech could not keep up and adjust their base and their tactics as fast as the attackers could, right?
Mm-hmm.
So part of the problem they're trying to address is small things like, hey, my base is good, my guard is good, but you know the flavor of the month is explosive. So now I want to go on my turrets and replace that M panel with an X panel because that's going to give me explosive resistance. Oh, next month the flavor of the month is radioactive. Now I can go and replace some armor there or specials with lead panels instead of D5E, and now you can do that real quick with the base parts. So that was a big part of the thinking, and I think they're bang on that.
See,
what do you guys think about it?
I would disagree with that, Ren. From my point of view, when a new hull comes out that's flavor of the month, I would not spend any time changing my turrets. I would be changing my guard to fit that fleet, not my turrets.
So don't you think like the different armor or specials make any sort of difference, especially like with level 6 turrets with like?
I honestly feel that the difference is like marginal. We're talking split seconds.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't really run resistances and stuff like that on my turrets. If I want it to live longer, I put permacrete on it.
But maybe we'll see a difference. Maybe we'll see a difference with how that balance is affected when turrets go up another level. I mean, what armor points are they now at level 6? They go to what, 30k? I mean, if they take a big jump again and go to something like 50k at level 7, then that element could play a huge factor in this. In fact, well, you know, I mean, I'm just putting it out there, but it could be something that actually does become part of the basis of the game. I definitely see both the points there. I almost feel myself that my turrets are not really my base. Like, I feel my base guard makes up 75% of my base defense, and the turrets are really just placements. Yeah, I mean, but I don't know. For me, it's always ship builds. Like, ship builds are everything, whether it be guard or what you're doing in the game, and everything else is just small parts that go along with that, you know.
Yeah, I mean, and don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I don't like the idea. I think I like the idea. I'm just fundamentally I don't see being able to quickly change something on my turrets as the answer to an overpowered fleet. The answer to an overpowered fleet is to change my guard.
But it may be an element. It may be an element. I've never actually tried what Ren said there myself. Anyway, like most of my turrets don't even run like armor panels like that or specials.
And I think at the very high end of the game, you're right. You know, the turrets, they die with a round or two. You know, although now the new corrosive turrets, how are they called? Basilisks. Mm-hmm. They're pretty good. I mean, they get out 3-4 shots before they die.
Yeah, but siege battery works against them, though.
It does. Siege battery and deflection.
Well,
No, siege battery doesn't give you corrosive defense, does
Yeah,
it?
no, siege battery does. I had this confirmed.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
Siege
because
battery.
it says turret defense.
Yeah, it gives you turret defense, but they just haven't put corrosive in the graphic. But it does work against them.
I think actually one of the things that's a big positive for base parts, even if you aren't refitting your specials or whatever on turrets to match attacking fleets, with the introduction of the Basilisk, with the soon-to-be rotation out of Cold Snap into the Glacial Launcher, the new Wendigo type turret we're getting after the raid, a lot of people are still going to be making changes to their turrets and probably then their specials as well. So even if you're not swapping out particular base specials for other defensive types, you've still got a lot of things to do with these. So I think that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think going to, Kix is very open about moving into the age of deflection and the age of siege targeting and building fleets towards siege. So, of siege battery and a lot of fleets of siege targeting, if you haven't already seen it in your base, you're going to start seeing the special more and more. So, Gadget's way of thinking of, well, I've never really planned resist or anything like that on my turret. It's never been a big deal. You're absolutely right, it hasn't. But we may be coming to a new phase of the game where that is going to be a much bigger deal. So these base parts would help in switching out those higher resist. So, or armor or something like that. And again, if they jump the turret health up, and level 7, and then you have the permanent to do it, those switches like that, knocking out a week worth of them, over the month could be really beneficial. We could be getting a new mindset in the game. I started playing in 2013, but I left 14, so I missed a lot of the Reaver thing. But I noticed at the end of the huge player, I was playing, DNX days and Boons versus, the end of the Reavers and Scourge and the new Revenge Parade targets. It wasn't the same mindset that I knew back in 2013. It's totally possible that they're trying to get us to engineer our bases for speed. If that makes sense to anybody.
Yeah, I can. We are struggling to make out. You are struggling to. We can't fully hear you clearly, but I did kind of catch most of what you said. I'm not sure if the YouTubers did, but yeah, no, I do agree with your points there. So we've spent a half an hour discussing base parts here, and I think we've generated sort of, the general concerns that I feel that have been talked about on the page. And I know that that there was some Kix interested in players' opinions on this. So what information we've discussed here on the show, I will be forwarding to them to take a look at, as well as the information we put on that poll on the page. And for anyone that hasn't yet had their say on that poll, there is a poll on the page where I'm asking you outright what you feel about base parts, and if you would like to discuss base parts, or if you would like to have an opinion on them, then please add your comments to that poll, because I am going to be passing that poll on also. So, it's a great chance for you to at least air your view.
Can
Yeah.
I one last thing?
Yeah, go on, Brian. Definitely.
Yeah. I only did 90s because I just wanted the challenge. The countermeasure turret in the 90s. Kix Eye, please. I think that's a little too good. I know other people mentioned problems in the 80s and such. Someone mentioned Zoe's Rhinos and a Harlock's Aegis not really being able to shoot down anything. Well, my similarly structured fleet, 45 missiles, all this reload under half a second, 45 missiles, it barely made it in. It took quite a while to get the targets down. I know it was the most difficult target, but I also heard a lot of complaints on the forums about it doing the same to UAVs and rockets, and making players feel that they had to make a ballistic feat specifically for siege targets. And I know that's what a lot of the design is trying to do right now between the Punisher, Arbalest, E110, this new stuff. I don't like the idea of having to build a fleet for a specific job, even though I understand that they're trying to cater more and more of the higher end content to that job, I think that you should be able to create a fleet with general siege deflection, say a Neptune missile fleet. And I know they worked well in DUBs, but in the 90s they might not work as well. I'm just hoping they'd leave it a little more open than you need Punishers or Centurions, I believe the new hull is, and the cannons and such. I even heard they were shooting down launchers, but I think that was merely a rumor. I hope they're not shooting down launchers.
No, they were at one point.
Yeah, I can assure you that they were shooting down launchers.
It wasn't that wasn't working as intended though. They weren't supposed to shoot down launchers.
Exactly.
Okay.
That was a bug in the preview server. They will not shoot launchers down.
Can I just say as well, like, I much as I definitely understand what you're saying about the coaxial turrets being overpowered, but we have to also take into consideration that these bases don't have any mortars, they don't have any cold snaps, they don't have any frostbites. You know, if those coaxials weren't as effective as they were, then we would be rolling over those mines no problem at all. I mean, that kind of gives them their only defensive standpoint, I think.
And also, just to take it back a bit, I don't know if you remember, but Ren actually spoke earlier on in the show about the fact that you don't need a full new ballistic fleet to do these. You can go in with one ballistic hull in your fleet, use it to target the Iron Curtain, and as soon as that Iron Curtain's dead, your missiles are going to land and do damage just fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I appreciate what Brian's saying about that fact as well. I mean, don't get me wrong, you don't have to tailor it and build a fleet specifically for these, but you will have a lot cheaper of a ride if you do. That much is definitely true. I think that you will have a lot cheaper ride if you build Centurions. And I probably will build some for this because I feel that this new feature is going to be something that's going to be big in the game, and being able to do it easily is going to progress me as a player and give me an edge over players that don't. So that's the reason I'll go for it. But on the same turn, there is tricks you can use. I mean, an Amiga Behemoth is going to give you an instant head start because you're going to be stacking your ballistic defense up, and that's the main source of damage from what I can see in these. I know that there's radioactive too, but so anyone that's got an Amiga, even shove an Amiga in with Neptunes, that's going to give you a massive boost. There's lots of different tricks I think already, and some of them are highlighted across different videos we've seen out. So I don't think they're like the sort of do-all, end-all. I wouldn't like to see Kixeye make them any more difficult. I mean, they always say that this is subject to change, and I believe that they could change these minds again before they release them, and I hope they don't, because I almost feel like they've got them right. That's my general opinion. I kind of feel like they're right. What does everyone else think?
Yeah, one more comment. If it's keep in mind these DMBs, they're going to have a long shelf life. I mean, they're like the FM targets. They're not like a raid target that's there this month for 5 days and then it's gone, right? I mean, they will be there, I don't know, for a year or more before they change those targets again, I would think. So even if you don't have the optimal fleet now, and most people maybe won't, we're going to have time to build the right fleet, and maybe you can get as many base parts in the first couple of months, but then you catch up.
So you don't need to coin a fleet to do these.
Exactly.
You can take your time and observe and slow build and try and tweak it and see what other people are doing and everything else.
And by that point, they may have expanded on the feature as well. And another thing as well, which I've seen no one mention tonight, and I want to mention, is the Drake bases. We've seen the mines, but we haven't seen the Drake bases yet. They're changing the Drake bases to new bases. Whereas you don't necessarily have to have Centurions to do mines. I can almost bloody guarantee that you will have for the Drake bases. I reckon they're going to be major. Has there been any information released about these yet?
Not that I've seen.
No, I haven't seen.
One thing I will say, it's actually nice that Kingsize released a ship which can do this stuff before it comes live.
Yeah.
For once.
Yes.
We spoke about this earlier. Like normally, right, you'll see Kixeye, they'll release the feature, and then everyone will be like, "Oh my god, this is so hard," and then and the forums will blow up, and then a month later they'll release the whole, and they'll be like, "Oh, so you want us to coin this now so we can do it?" That's generally what happens. In all fairness, and this time round, they're actually releasing the hull that can do them the best before they release the feature. Which and that was a point Monster was making there. That's definitely quite a cool thing, I think. I mean, it's a new thing for Kickstarter.
Well, I've not seen it before.
No.
Does anyone remember when DUBs initially came out? First time they went live?
I only started looking at them in the last sort of 6 weeks, so.
Okay.
When what came live?
Draconian uranium bases? The Sector Threat Orange?
Oh, that came with Sector Orange. Wasn't that like 2 months ago? Like just before Christmas?
Okay, thank you. Because I remember something Dirty Harry said a while back where he said, oh, these targets are hard now, but within 6 months we'll have the fleet to do them easy. And we didn't even have to wait 6 months. We have the fleet. It's, ballistic punishers and
Exactly.
Gadget made a great build on them. But a thing that I'm liking a lot is the permanence of these targets. Was brought up before, I know, but they're going to be around for a while. We're going to have time to build them slowly, and we understand that, or at least have a better idea now that, like, I'm still building a Punisher fleet meant for DUBs for these targets, the new Siege, and it's an investment. It's not just going to be obsolete, within a few months, etc. They're going to be used for a long time for a lot of different things, and I think that's what a lot of, I don't coin myself, but a lot of low and non-coiners might be looking for is more of an investment in their time and more something that can last. And do well.
Are you building my fleet by
And Brian, I'll say something. It's like when the only thing I would say for people right now is like anyone who cares about getting the 50 Draconian base badge or getting all the older blueprints for base specials from the Draconian bases, now's the time to do it because they're going to get harder and then it's going to take a few months for everyone to catch up again and be able to kill them. But right now they're a piece of cake. Right?
Okay, sorry, I was going to ask, Brian, are you building my fleet by any chance?
Yeah, I got your fleet. I tweaked it a little bit based on what I had and what I wanted to do, but it's pretty much that. Yeah, it's a great fleet.
Well, I would say that fleet, if you were to switch out Siege Targeting 3 for Reflected Coating 3, it's going to be fine to do these mines.
Yeah, I imagine that to be the case. Although even with, I think I did the math a little earlier up in this chat, on the build that I saw, 69% radioactive defense v turrets. So even then, 31% minus 500. If there's less than 1,600 per salvo damage on these things, you're taking minimum. Even without reflective coating, and with it, you're going to be up to about 80%, 81, 82 maybe against turrets. So, yeah, that's not even that much of a refit. I don't think. I think.
No, it's not a big refit.
Yeah, it's pretty much.
So here's another thing too. Like everybody starts talking about slow building. Did anybody look at the build time for this new hull? It's only one day, 8 hours.
Yes.
It's not necessarily a slow build by any means.
That's just for the hull though, dude. Once you put the weapons on it, it's getting up over 14, 16, 18 days. I've seen one that was 19.
Yeah, but that's like the build I used was 14. And I mean, back in the day, let's rewind the clock a year. That would have been a 28-day build. So,
no, of course. I mean, look, if you don't have Punishers, by all means, spend 14 days a hull building these hulls. But if you have Punishers already, spend a couple of days refitting them.
Mate, you got a crush on Punishers. I'm telling you.
No, I just don't believe in building a hull for a purpose that I already have a hull that can do that job. Do you know what I mean? If I have a hull that can do the job already, why would I spend all this time building a new hull to do that job?
No, I know.
You're absolutely right, Gadget. I mean, but again, I think people have to have one or the other.
Well, let's be fair. There is some people that don't have Punishers. There was a lot of people that looked at that hole initially.
White Star.
White Star. Right. And said, and he looked at that and he thought, oh, I'm not doing this raid. Who needs a ballistic hull? They're dead in the game. So there's a lot of people that did that, and so the Centurion is going to give them that hull that they didn't bother to win. So I think in that sense it's good.
I mean, I'll win the hull. I just don't know if I'll build it yet.
Has anybody thought about base power? with all these new things which we can add to our turrets and stuff. There was a blueprint released a while ago, cadmium solar panels.
Oh, it's crap.
Yeah, it might be crap now, but it could become relevant, mate.
Yeah, but remember, we're also going to get more power with OP8 Monster.
No, they said we might get more power.
We don't know.
I would imagine we will, man. I can't see them not giving us more base power if they're going to be bringing these new turrets.
Yeah, but why introduce it to the game if it's not going to be used?
Well, I don't know. Maybe low-end players use them, but then they wouldn't have a power issue. I really don't know, mate. Because I don't see it as being relevant. At 200 base power, it's not worth putting on it, and you can only put it on a turret. If I could put it on res gens or warehouses, but if I could put it on res gens or warehouses or something like that, then maybe I would see a use for it. But when our turrets go up, we're not getting an extra special slot. There was no mention of that. There was mention of extra armor slots, but no extra special slots. So why would I waste a special on one of my turrets for 200 base power?
Yeah, you could. If you put one on almost all of your turrets, you get, let's say, 3,000 base power. I mean, okay, I don't understand the power of the late game. I'm not there yet, but I don't think that would be worth a special slot on all your turrets unless you have nothing better to do with that slot.
I agree.
Also, I kind of want to jump back a bit to the discussion about the Citadel and the build time specifically. One of the things I'm liking is this new kind of template that they have for the hulls. There's only 2 defense types, basic. The evade might not be as good as the rest of the things. The stats are a little worse, but at the same time, that's 1 day 8 hours for the Centurion, last I recall. I almost feel like it's the Mercury of ballistics, even though you have to win it in a raid, which can be a bit of an issue for the lower player. If you don't have the Punisher and you get the Citadel, I think you're going to be doing just fine. I really like that they are lowering the whole build times, but they're trading it off power-wise, but they're trading it off not so much in a way that hurts. If you put good defenses on, good turret defenses, and the deflection, you're going to have a great hull for not too terribly long of a build.
All right, here's a good question, though. Let's say you have Punishers, and you're going to get the Centurion, but you haven't built either yet. Which one would you build?
Punisher.
I would build the Punisher.
I would build the Punisher too. If I'm going to use it for a long time, definitely Punisher.
I think it's I'll tell you why. I think the Punisher is way more versatile than the Centurion. Yes. I think it can be used for far more things. I saw Liam get completely fleet on the test server, and I mean, it was pathetic. It was like watching seawolves fight each other.
Oh, did you see that one? Yeah. that was fun. That was funny, man. I thought I was sat watching paint dry for a minute.
Yeah, and I would say the Punisher is a far more versatile hull. I think the Centurion is much more of a.
But that's not that hull. That's the weapon. You can't judge the hull on that.
That's fair. 200 damage to ships.
I mean, has anyone had a look at this? Look at this whole stats when it's running the same weapon that you'd put on your Punisher base fleet.
Look at its base stats, Liam. Look at its base stats. As a ballistic hull, its base stats are far inferior to the Punisher. It doesn't get the same amount of ballistic damage. It doesn't get the same accuracy buffs. It doesn't get the same reload buffs. It doesn't get the same range buffs. It's not as good a hull for a ballistic hull.
All that being said, though, I do think Centurion's worth building because these are going to be around for a long time, mate.
I feel that this fleet was designed for these new targets and probably these new Drake bases. All right, given, I'll put my hands up and say you're right. You know, Punishers can do the mines for the same kind of damage, but we haven't seen the Drake bases yet, and I got a funny feeling that they're not going to leave it open for people to turn around and say, I don't need to build them, I've got Punishers.
The only thing I can think of them doing that's going to make me need a Centurion is making them really, really high splash, in which case, I'll just build one Centurion and flag my Punishers with it.
Yeah, that could be, and you use the aura to reduce splash effect when you're doing dubs. That could be a good idea.
Well, I don't know. I would reserve judgment until you see these draconian bases because maybe Centurions will be the key to doing them.
And by the way, who thinks Kixeye is going to reduce build time on all their ballistic hulls this month? Because they did that last month, right? I mean, they released a new mortar hull, and then they got older mortar hulls and reduced their build time.
They
some
reviewed
actions
them.
as well.
Well, do you know what? It would be nice to see them hit Crusaders,
That's what I was
SCX,
gonna say.
Stingrays. You know, all of those holes should drop down to 6 hours. I think.
All the lower end ones, yeah.
Yeah, all the like
I hope they do that
Stingrays,
again, because that was a very good move.
Zoe
I think so, too.
Stingrays. You know, all those kinds of stuff should drop.
One thing I was going to ask Ren, I don't know whether you can talk about it or not, but you remember they brought out the normal scattergun, not the Cobra. You know, they brought out the heavy scattergun and the normal scattergun. And the normal scattergun cost a bunch of uranium, but it was a really, really cheap build. Like a really, really short build. It was like a couple of hours or something.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if there was any talk of them expanding on that, because I actually really, really like that feature.
So I'll talk about it as far as I can. I mean, I'm on your camp. I love when they started bringing things, and there's the scattergun and there's the streamlined scourge armor, right? Both you can build real fast if you have uranium.
Yeah, the cadmium.
I love it.
The cadmium.
And on the meetings I had with Kick so far, on those town hall meetings that they're hosting with us, I asked about that twice. First time, they said, oh, it's good to hear good feedback because we haven't heard much from the players and a lot of players didn't like it and whatnot. I'm like, no, I loved it. I mean, if you can bring a few more options like that, I would go for them, you know, easy. So it seems to me that at first they didn't hear a lot of positive feedback, but yeah, it's not out of the table, but I wouldn't say it's on the table either. It might happen, I don't know.
The only suggestion I would make to them to improve that feedback would be if they made it so that you had the choice, so that you could either build that or equip that item at the standard time, or you could spend the uranium and get it for a reduced time. And then I think people would be much more positive about it because they wouldn't feel like they were being forced to spend uranium to.
Well, just like the base parts then, right? You can update something without them or you can do with them. Right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Good idea.
I think the final form of that would be to. I'm sorry. Sorry. Anyone? Okay. I think the final form of that would be to have multiple different levels of uranium and have each one give a different reduction. Some people maybe couldn't hit 75, but say they could hit 35s or 40s and scrounge together 5K uranium for a few hours off, or 10K for 12 hours, 30K for the 1 day and 12-hour reduction on the streamlined versus other high-end armors. Just things like that to make it more able to cater to everyone. If they could do that, I think would be great. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I hope.
Yeah.
Ren, take this for what you think. I had a conversation with my alliance mate. Everyone came out with that uranium cost, and the biggest issue that we had in our group, they introduced that changing the armada, and that's when it wasn't as easy to get as now, now at this point, would get a lot of positive feedback because how easy it is to get nowadays.
Okay, now can anyone translate that for me?
Sorry,
something uranium getting harder, something changing track armadas.
No, sorry, mate. It sounded so muffled down.
Darth Vader.
No one could hear, man. It's not your fault, but I know. But
I did enjoy seeing your leg.
but no one could make out, buddy, what's going on there. Sorry about that, Trickster.
Going back to the base parts, can I say something?
Yeah, go for it, definitely.
To me, I'd rather have something to help our build times than base parts. We used to have one weekend, we used to have tokens to help our base ships proceed. Then the next weekend we have, which was easy, we had uranium tokens. They stopped that.
Oh,
you mean the TLC? The campaigns.
The TLCs for crews and uranium and tokens and whatnot.
Yeah. We had one weekend we had tokens for build our ships.
So
next
you heard
week.
it here first. Oh, sorry.
They stopped that for some stupid reason.
Well, the thing is, though, I mean, with the way the game's gone, though, as well, I mean, you have to, you know, like, that campaign would give you 50,000 uranium, whereas now you can go out and get, you know, 30,000 uranium in, like, 2 minutes.
Yeah, but not
The only TLC I'd like
Not everybody.
is the one that gives ship tokens. That's the one that I think the guys not getting them from FM could benefit from. But the others, I agree.
I agree.
I don't miss that.
Not everybody can do that, though.
No, I appreciate that, what you're saying there about the uranium, not everyone can hit the armadas. But I kind of feel that, like, when they took away the dredges and they added in the armadas, I almost knew that we weren't going to see the campaigns like that again. But now I feel like the campaigns have got I don't want to say worse, but I do not like time limited campaigns. It's one of my things that I dislike in the game. I like the content that they drop. I just don't like the idea of them, you know, coming into the game, being here for a week and then being gone again, because that excludes a large amount of people that maybe can't get on that week, people that are on holiday. Then they lose access to that technology forever. I being one of them and not being able to get coaxial turrets.
I think when they canned the TLCs was, you know, if you remember, up to August or September, I think we had them regularly. Mm-hmm. And that's when the whole community got to a point of frustration and exhaustion with the state of the game. Mm-hmm. That everyone said too much, and then Kixeye heard that and started cutting back. So they cut back on arena tournaments, they cut back on those weekend TLCs, they cut back on retrofits, they cut back on a whole bunch of stuff, right? And I think now it's about fine-tuning that balance. At what point it becomes too much content again? At what point is not enough content that people want things back, right? Mm-hmm. And if you look at the TLCs now, I think the changing mindset is like, instead of having a TLC that you must do within 48 hours, they're giving, like, I think it's about a week for people who want to do them. So it's kind of like, so there's no more complaints about, oh, I work on weekends, or oh, I work 12-hour shifts. So that's the weekend I'm working. That's, you know, that's my wedding anniversary. I can play that weekend. Oh, okay, but here I have a whole week to do that.
And also,
remember, within a week.
I feel that those campaigns should just be added in. That's my opinion. I don't think that they should be time limited.
Somebody in chat just brought up a really good point, though, right? Is that when we had them, everybody complained that there was way too much content. That's
what Ren just said. Yeah, we were in content overload at that time. I remember when we were at a point where we were having 1 week. Right, in 1 week they announced about 6 different things, and there was literally like 6 different things to do that week. And everyone was just at a point of, do you know what? They've lost the plot here. You know what I mean? They've actually lost
People
the plot.
People are all saying, I want time to do PvP. I don't want all this PvE crap coming my way. And I think they slow down, right? Now, when's too slow, when's too fast, I think that's going to be a balancing exercise, like an ongoing exercise.
Mm-hmm. Well, one thing they could do is introduce, like, battle tokens. So basically, like, if you go out, you know, we all started this game because we like playing versus other players more than, you know, the AI. So if you get a battle token, say for every base hit or every fleet versus fleet, that could be added up and say put in like a stronghold. Say once you get 50, you might get a 12-hour reduction of your choice for a ship or a turret or something else. That would bring back player versus player, but give an incentive to alleviate some of the strain, that the time strain basically. Because I love content, I just not being able to build is the problem. So battle tokens and playing for them would give you an incentive plus a boost to go with it.
That's a good idea.
Can I change the subject? Damn.
Sorry?
Can I change the subject a minute?
Yeah, I mean, this is open mic, right? And you know, we're close to an hour mark, but I've got no issues with this going on longer if you guys feel that you've got more stuff you want to talk about. So, you know,
his chick's out, so he got his balls back for the night.
So yeah, I mean, run away with it, guys. Say what you want to say. Any subject you want.
I'm going to complain about the mini raid.
The mini raid?
Yeah.
Which one?
The one they have weekly. Every week we have a mini raid. You know,
Forsaken.
tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4. You get to tier 4, they have prizes in tier 4. The last 3 weeks, they've been moving the tier 4 prizes to tier 3. Which is, you know, what's the point of doing tier 4 if they're going to do that?
Well, I think, I mean, from Kickstarter's perspective, when they first released that in tier 4, it's very viable content, like update content. But because the game evolves it to an extent where 6 months down the line, that's actually not as viable anymore. I think they gradually drop it, allowing the player base to catch up. I mean, I for one think that it's good that they do that because, you know, I can give you an example here. My partner Lucy, she was out of the game for some time and only come back into it maybe the beginning of last month, and she is so behind. Like, she has nothing of the tier 4 content, and for her, she literally, I'm running a Harlock Aegis full of Hellstorms and a Punisher full of Hellstorms, and sitting it in front of her fleet and running her through the weeklies twice a week at the moment, which is ridiculous, really, because I'm basically doing it 4 times now. But that has given her an opportunity to catch up because she's getting the speed system 5 in tier 3 or whatnot, you know. And I've seen the benefit of that. But I agree with you that what you're saying that tier 4, you know, you're working your butt off to win something in tier 4, and then 3 months down the line, they're giving it away to lower, you know, to tier 3, and that is frustrating. I can definitely see your point of view on that, but there's 2 sides to it. Like, there is, you know, it helps people too, you know, and I can see that side of it as well.
It's no different than hulls. Like, the Neptune came out in September, I believe, tier 5, and then in December was a tier 4, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Neptune, I don't know, in 6 more months is an FM price. I mean, who knows? That's the cycle, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's been some great hulls in the Forsaken Mission prizes.
You know, look at the Triton now, tier 1, and you can build it in like 10 hours. I mean, if you're a brand new player, why would you ever unlock hammerheads and floating fortresses? I mean, just get the Triton on tier 1.
Didn't we have the Kodiak and the Behemoth in tier 3 as well? I believe.
I don't remember, but I know
that sounds right. Let me try to find out.
Yeah,
also, I remember grinding so hard back in one of the ABC set raids. I got to 10 million points doing all C's and not sleeping a whole lot, I don't think, over 6 days. And for 10 million points, I got the MCX. And I was very, very happy. And now the MCX is a dime a dozen. Yeah, tier 2. But the thing is, I'm not sad about that. I cherish the time I had with that ship. I know my example is extreme, but even in the shorter time frames, I can appreciate the additional benefits that my ship gained over the period of time where I was able to have it before it became easier to access. It might help having that bit of extra speed, that new weapon. It might help you win a raid, win a prize in a raid where you otherwise wouldn't be able to, or things like that. So there are benefits definitely in the interim, and I'm all for seeing the lower and mid levels, you know, the other 80-90%. I'm all for seeing them get better tech because then they're happy, and the targets that were previously designed for the super high end kind of become more catered to the average, and usually it's a big win for a lot of people involved. You can't make everybody happy, but that makes a lot of people happy.
Yeah, and I mean, let's bear in mind that, you know, the game, you know, if you win something new, if you go out and win something tomorrow and it's the latest thing in the game, then you're going to have an advantage. You're going to have the best thing on the market for the current game. But in 3 or 4 months down the line, when the raid progresses and when the targets progress, that's not going to be as effective anymore. And then and so basically, what you're getting when you win that prize first is you're getting a head start. You're getting the advantage. When it's re-released to the community, say for example in tier 3 or in a whole store or in another format, they are going to be able to win it for a lot cheaper than you did. But they're winning it at a time when it's probably nowhere near as useful in the game. Like, for example, these holes that are in tier 3. I mean, they're just not as useful as they used to be. So,
yeah.
You know,
well, they're not useful to high-end players.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say they may not be as useful to high-end players, but to low-end, they will be.
Yes and no. I mean, not every hull, not every weapon has a long shelf life. I mean, you gotta as a lower level, I would never encourage anybody to build a Hellstrike now. You know, even if it's offered cheap, why would you? I mean, 150% repair modifier. Some of the weapons take days to build. I mean, why would you ever? You know what I mean? On the other hand, a Triton and MCX at tier 1, yeah, you can still get stuff done with that. I mean, at the very low end of the game. Right? I mean, a good Triton fleet can still do a level 65 target in FM. That's still pretty good, you know.
Exactly.
And I think, by the way, the feedback we've been giving Kickstarter constantly is about shelf life. It's like nobody wants to get a new toy that takes, you know, a month, depending on how much you coin, a week to 2 months to build a fleet, and then 3 months later, after the first release date, it's already obsolete or already has a powerful counter. And I think that's what they're trying to do with these long-term targets that they're releasing now, like the DMBs and the DUBs and whatnot. These are long-term targets. You get the right fleet for that, you're going to have at least one use for that fleet for a long time. And for a while, you're going to have more uses, like hitting player bases and whatnot.
Yeah, I like that they're doing that, because, you know, it's, as a guy who coins, you know, I've got to agree with, it's weird actually, I've got to agree with something that Jeff Price usually says, you know, we're not getting value for our money when they obsolete our stuff a month after we build it. I mean, if I'm dropping $200 to $500 to build a fleet, I don't expect it to be useless in a month. You know, I expect to get a good bit of time out of that. I mean, I'm not saying I want it forever to be relevant, but I want to get some enjoyment out of it for the money that I've spent on it.
I think 9 months is a good turnaround, you know, for viability of a ship.
See, I'd be happy with 6.
Well, yeah, that would work too.
I don't know. I mean, it's always been a difficult concept in the game, shelf life, and I think it's been a concept that's always been way too fast. But I feel that it is being improved on. I do. I feel that the game's become much more positive over the last few months, and I feel that they are working on these issues. Like, I mean, a good example of this is Rhinos. You know that? When did Rhinos officially come out? 6 months ago? They're still one of the best holes in the game.
They're a workhorse, mate.
They can do your weeklies for nothing. They can get you uranium for nothing. I used Rhinos to do the last raid for nothing.
Yeah, they are a missile fleet, though. Missile fleets do tend to have more longevity than the other ones.
And the remote targeting too. But they're also designing for shelf life too. With the Citadel and the Centurion, they're not immediately better in all facets, but they're still designed for a particular job, and they're still very good at that job. And now that job is becoming more prevalent, both number of different types of targets and, again, time that the targets will last. So they're definitely keeping shelf life in mind. I think that's great.
Yeah, I was going to say, and somebody on chat here on YouTube said the same, Rhinos Cloffy, if I'm saying that right. Rhinos came out in August. And just so you guys know, the Rhinos are the benchmark fleet for Tier B on monthly raids right now. This is what Kickstarter is using to test how hard Tier B is. It's a fleet of Rhinos. I don't know the setup, but that's all I know. Right? So yeah, it's a must-have fleet, absolutely.
And that's what I like about this new hull. I do see it's going to have a long shelf life, especially with these new mines.
Yeah, and so you think about it, right? The Rhino right now, from the first release date, is hitting the 6-month mark. From August to now, almost 7 months, right? And it's still very useful, and it's more and more available. I think
you make it even more useful by putting a quality tank in front of it.
Exactly. I mean, you put a good tank. That's how I'm doing 75 Armadas, right? It's one deflection tank, the Rhinos in the back, and an Aegis to help with resistance. That's it.
That's exactly how I'm doing mine. I'm doing Punisher, 3 Rhinos, and a Harlock Aegis.
That's another great use for the Centurion, I feel, as a tank against buildings, because low build time and splash damage reduction aura. You could have a fine tank there.
Yeah, against buildings. They're very important, right, Brian? Against buildings, because
only against buildings.
Yeah.
Yeah, but let's look. I mean, I run a Citadel fleet that has 2 tanks, two tanks in it, 2 Punisher tanks. Now, would that fleet run better if I had 1 Punisher tank to tank ships and one Centurion tank to tank ships, like to tank buildings? Maybe it would. You know? So they could have a use as a tank.
I was interested in as well is what's the repair time on them sort of Centurion builds that you had compared to a Punisher build? Because one of my Punishers, fully dead, is like a 3-hour repair.
The Centurion build I was using was running. It was running. I think it was running 3 D5Es, 1 D5R, and 1. I'm not sure what the other one was, but I kind of had a bit of a mixed build. I think I had a D5M on there just to boost it.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention that gadget. I think one scenario where the Centurion might be a better tank, it's just because it has 5 armor slots.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, but that's also a lot
more armor and same siege deflection. So I can see some scenarios where maybe the Centurion will be better.
But that's also a lot more repair.
For four dead Centurions and a dead Behemoth Omega unarmored, it was 35 coins. I'm pretty sure it was 35 coins exactly.
See, my Punisher fleet, fully dead, is 26 coins.
Yeah, but you're running Streamline Cadium. If I was running Streamline Cadium, I would probably be under that too.
But that's the exact fleet that I would take into the mines. I would just change my siege targeting for reflective coating and leave everything else exactly as it is.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd be looking at.
The siege. Siege targeting.
Agility system.
Not the siege battery. I don't have agility system on my Punisher builds because evade is useless in TUBs.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I don't run any evade on it, just what's on the hull. But I would leave the siege battery on, but I would take the siege targeting off and drop a little bit of building damage and put on reflective coating to give me like Brian was saying, somewhere around 80% radioactive turret defense.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be my build for doing these mines. And fully dead, I'm looking at a 13-hour repair. So I can hit mines and repair it overnight for free.
See, I honestly want to see this new hull in a DUB, mate. Because I think they'll do really well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to see them. I want to see someone build, right? Here's a challenge I'm putting out there. I want to see someone build a Centurion fleet that beats Gadget's fleet in the Drake Uranium base and does a better job. Right? And then I want you to come on here in a show on the weekend and slap it in his face.
And when you do that, that'll be the last build I ever give Liam.
Guys, can I go off topic here? Ask a question?
Definitely.
From the older ships, because now we're kind of like, before deflection and after deflection, right? If you go back to before deflection hulls, your tanks, if one of them were to get some measure of deflection through retrofitting, which one should be?
Yeah, before I go, can I ask one more question?
Of course, yeah, of course.
When we used to have the raids, we used to have a campaign as well where we could share with players. Are they ever going to bring that back?
A campaign we used to share with players. What? I'm sorry, I can't.
Does he mean a co-op campaign?
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
Well, I don't know, guys. You take this one.
Well, the raid's going to be co-op, right?
They stopped that now.
This raid is going to be co-op.
Yes, this raid will be co-op.
Right. That's all I want to know.
Yeah. No,
and by the way, it's important to understand. I know not everyone reads that, but it's important to understand because before with campaigns, during raid, the bonus points for the tier would go for the owner of the campaign, no matter who joined, right?
Yeah.
This time, because they're map targets, it's important to know the bonus towards the tier, right, goes to the player who started the battle, if that player is still alive at the end of the battle. So it's very important the order people join in. If you want to help somebody, so to speak, you should join after the person, and the person should still be there at the end of the battle. Without, and by the way, if they retreat and rejoin, now that bonus goes to you because they got out and they came back in after you, right?
I wish they hadn't done that, Renato, because you know what I foresee here is that they're gonna go into the target before me and set everything off. And by the time I get in, I might be taking damage from stuff firing at them. And,
You're absolutely right. That's the downside of it.
I think that really sucks that they've done that.
Well, I'll tell you what, right, while we're on this subject of what I said in the beginning, While this subject, what we said a minute ago, I want to pick up on that, right? I'm going to put out a competition here to the community. Now, this will be like for a couple of weeks' time, but if someone can make me a video, Gadget, what is the repair time for a full draconian uranium base using your Punishers?
I couldn't tell you the exact repair time for a full one. I think it's somewhere around 10 hours. But I mean, it depends on if you just do one side. It depends on the side you're doing. I mean, the east side I can do for under 2 hours, about an hour and 40 minutes.
Okay, so if someone can make me a video and bring it to my page or bring it to my attention of a Centurion fleet doing a Drake uranium base for under 10 hours repair, I will give you £50 Facebook credit voucher.
And if they can't, I get the £50.
No. I want to see, the community, people in the community, or this may just be the coiners, but this competition will go on for months if it has to. Someone bring me a build that can beat Gadgets. I want to see the build on Centurions. If you can make me a build that can beat Gadgets 10 hours on Punishers and video it, I will give you £50 Facebook voucher for BP.
So I guess two questions. One, I am a college student, so I don't have money. Permission to theorycraft, I guess, is question one. I don't know about making a video for it. And two, it just has to beat it once, right? It just has to beat that 10 hours one time?
Well, yeah. Basically, Gadget's uranium base is Punishers can do a Drake U base for all four sides of it for under 10 hours repair. Right, let's just say 10 hours.
Law of large numbers, you are about to be my friend, because I know how this new cannon works.
Right, if someone can send me a video of Centurions doing it for less, I will give them £50 Facebook voucher for BP, and that's a FTC, a TFC competition on the page.
I don't fancy your chances because you're already losing right away. You've got 2 more armor slots per boat than me. Even if you run the same armor as me, you've still got that much more hit points that are going to be coming off your repair time.
Well, look, the challenge is set.
As long as we reduce the damage to the same and take the same number of hits, the number of armor points on the fleet's not going to matter.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see.
He sounds like a worried man right now.
I do admit it's not going to be easy, but my initial strat is to just use all these new particle cannons, and just hope to run like God one time and just have them fire off their blue laser of death and destruction every 10-ish seconds. Hopefully, just try to get a build that does that, because that DPS is still going to be slightly lower than the Arbalest. Something, lots of trials, and hopefully win at some point.
Yeah, but you might take a
challenge that takes some time because I think Gadget's Punishers are already skulled, so you need to build the Centurions, call the Centurions, and then probably going to have a level playing field.
And that's the part I'm not doing because for a college student.
You're going to need an Omega as well.
Listen, sure. I will accept if someone does it in a preview server as well. All right. So there you go.
Whenever there's
I just like the fun theory challenge of trying to build a fleet that would do better. I couldn't actually do it in practice, but the theory and challenge sounds like fun to me. So
well, it's just a fun little challenge. I mean, I thought I'd get the page involved. I thought it might be a bit interesting.
I will not win and have fun nonetheless. I'll totally have fun. It's going to be awesome.
Someone beat Gadget and prove him wrong. That would make my day.
Well, put your word in. Make sure the dubs are open next preview server. I was looking for them, but they weren't open.
He's setting you all up to fail, right? Because he can't prove it. He wants one of you to do his job for him.
No, that's not true. Actually, I can't pay myself £50, though, can I? I'll be coining Centurions when I get them, but I can't exactly. I could figure it out myself and then send it to someone and say do this, and then that'll be you beat.
I like how earlier on I said I'm totally using Gadget's build, and now I'm trying to theorycraft to beat Gadget's build.
Yeah, you beat Gadget's build. That's a this challenge is called "Can you beat Gadget?" Which could be taken out of context, but we're not going to do that.
You also got to match his retrofits too.
Well, that's a constant. I don't actually know what if the new cannons are going to be in a retrofit category. So that'll be interesting.
I'll say not
Yeah,
for
in
a
the
while.
preview I don't think they were, but I didn't check.
They don't seem like railguns. I guess they
They're
might
not
be in siege
railguns,
cannons.
right? They're not assault cannons.
Like siege cannons, I think is the best. We'll find out later.
Yeah, and by the way, I think as an alternative, the BP Prof said the Earth Shaker cannons did really, really well on his comparison table. And they're lighter.
Yeah.
They're cheaper.
I have that open right now. It looks pretty interesting. I might have to.
The Arbalest is the best gun.
I think so.
It's the best gun for DUBs by far. My building damage, my building DPS, not even damage per second, is 141,000. Right?
Yeah, but I think the Arbalest, it's the best, but it's also the heaviest.
Yeah. It is
heavy. Hitting, I saw on your build you have some siege cannons S.
Yeah, they're for speed.
The Earth Shaker gives a big bang. I don't know if it fits, but it's just.
But they're also
the CJs on there, Ren, are only there for speed buffs. They're not there for any other reason, mate. They're there because they're really light and they give me more speed.
Yeah.
And Arbalest can shoot ships and not be sad about it. The particle cannons, you can shoot ships and you will be sad about it. So that's another point for the Arbalest favor.
There are no ships in a DU base, mate.
Yeah. Just if you're ever using the fleet out and you ever run into a ship, you'd be like, oh, I can somewhat do something against this ship.
What's interesting as well is that Kickstarter are removing ships from these new draconian bases, the big ones.
I'm excited to see what these new subsector bases hold, because they can't make them too hard because they're still objectives for the lower end of the R&D, but they still should be a challenge for the higher end, hopefully.
I'm sure there'll be an iron curtain in there somewhere.
I want an iron curtain for my base, man.
I want 4.
Kicksai, if you're watching, iron curtains for the base, that would be awesome.
Iron curtain to the person who beats Gadget's uranium base fleet.
I don't think they'll ever make iron curtains available to us. Because they would neutralize so many fleets in base hitting, and they wanted to do that for their PvE targets, not for PvP.
Well, if it was limited to just...
You're starting to sound a bit butthurt about my fleet, Liam.
I'm not butthurt at all. In any case, right, when we were talking about that fleet,
I mean, you don't get more.
Didn't I have a little? I had some input on that fleet. Like you said,
you go out live on air and ask people and set a challenge for people to beat my fleet. It doesn't get much more butthurt than that.
Oh come on!
He's just butthurt, mate.
You're just feeling the pain there.
And he ain't.
You are bribing people to beat this man's fleet.
Okay, I'm Ren.
Bye, Ren.
You say you had to get off, buddy?
Yeah, I'm gonna drop. I think we've been at like an hour and a half on it, so.
Yeah, we are running a bit over now, guys. I do apologize about that. I just guess that everyone had stuff to say. And
take it easy, Ren.
Ren, thanks for coming on, buddy, and we'll see you on Tuesday.
Great show. Bye, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Well, what else is there to talk about? I'm going to cut the stream off in a minute, but what I will say is, me and Gadget and the others here, I don't know. I'm going to stay online for a bit. So if anyone wants to come into an after show, they're very welcome to do so. But I'm going to cut the stream off fairly soon. Is there any other topics anyone wanted to hit into? Excuse me.
I just got one thing to say. Like, I know the forums kind of blew up about the Iron Curtain being so overpowered and stuff, but I mean, really, there's ways around it. Even with a missile fleet, like Ren said, you can use a ballistic to take out the Iron Curtain, and then you get a decent effect with your missiles. Another thing is, do not stack your fleet, because when all your missiles fire at once, it's going to knock them down. If you can stagger them and get a constant stream, they will make it through. I did it on 80s. It was really easy. Another thing, know your level. You can take Crusaders into a level 70 and take it out easy. It's easily done. So just know your fleet, know the intention of these new targets, and plan for it. Use tactics.
When all else fails, small pinch. 15 minutes to build, pretty long stun time.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, guys, is there any other topics?
Pass.
We're good? Well, it's been a very informative show, I feel, again. I mean, it's great that you guys have come out and joined us tonight. So thank you to all of you guys that have come on and joined us in the show here tonight. And thanks to everyone that joined us in the YouTube chat. You know, we're trying to create something fantastic here at the TFC. And I feel that it's been fantastic so far. The community support's been fantastic. And the way you guys have communicated with it in the page, we all feel very, very appreciative of the community support to us so far. And long may it continue. For anyone that isn't in our Facebook group, I will put the link to that in the description of this video after it's on YouTube. And come and join us there. Just search for the Forsaken Council on Facebook and you'll find us. We do live streams on Twitch. I did one just Friday of the preview server, so that's also on our YouTube channel if you want to catch that. And again, thanks everyone. We will be having an after show here, so if there's any spaces, which I believe there is one space right now, I'll post a link into the YouTube chat now, guys, so you can join. All the best. Thanks for joining us, and we shall see you the same time on Tuesday. No, we will not. Tuesday's a different time, but catch us in the page, and for those wanting to come on the open mic, we'll see you the same time next Saturday. Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you, Liam.
Bye, everybody.